نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after initiating our existence from one soul, says to the angels that I wish to place upon the earth a Khalifa. Now, a Khalifa means one who comes after. So possibly it does have that relevance that there were other creatures prior to human beings upon the earth. We know at least from the hadith of Nasnas and Jinn simultaneously coexisting upon the earth prior to human beings. And we know from other hadith literature that there were many other species, human-like or different, existing upon the face of this earth. So Khalifa in that sense would make sense, the one who comes after. However, if Khalifa is to be taken as somebody who represents God, then the response of the angels seem valid, where the angels say, O Lord, shall you place upon there one who shall cause bloodshed and corruption? The question is, how did the angels know that the human beings were going to create corruption and bloodshed? The answer could be that they have seen the previous Khalifa upon the face of the earth, and they have behaved in a similar fashion. Or that the angels were informed by God that I shall place a Khalifa upon the earth who will procreate, and they will fight, and they will cause corruption and bloodshed. Here the angels express their astonishment, and they say, well, why would you want to do that? Now the answer Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives in the Quran is that I have not created man and jinn save to worship me. The angels, in accordance with this, respond, but we glorify you and we hold you free of all defect, and surely that is the purest form of worship. What the angels may not have understood was that worship does not entail glorification of God merely through the mind and the soul, but worship means slavery and servitude, working for, doing something for. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may have envisaged a purpose for Adam in terms of governing the earth on his behalf. In other words, Adam becomes the hand of God and the agency of God upon the face of the earth to regulate the earth. Again here, if that is the case, then the angels' protest seems to be valid when they say, but he will cause corruption and bloodshed. And how can that be accurately depicting your agency? Allah simply says, I know what you know not, and I know the hidden of the heavens and the earth. From here, several things come to mind. The angels did not know of the insubordination of Iblis at this point, and yet they are saying that this creature of yours will be a corrupt creature and cause corruption, which shows that Iblis is not primarily and fundamentally the cause for corruption. It is the human nature, and it has already gone before, as they have possibly witnessed. And secondly, well, who misguides Iblis? Here we come on to the discussion of Shaitan, and in reality, what is the nature of Shaitan, and if Iblis and Shaitan are synonymous, or whether Iblis is an overall part of Shaitan, in the sense that Shaitan is an overwhelming reality which serves positively within the creative scheme, and Iblis is an extension of Shaitan. We shall discuss that shortly. The other thing that we see here is that God is entertaining questions from the angels, and He is at one point saying to them, I know what you know not, and later on, as we shall see, God fully entertains their inquiry and satisfies them. In any case, we see from the hadith literature that when this is decided, Allah sends Jibreel to the earth to take from the earth, from its surface, dust, and to take it from several different places of the earth. When Jibreel comes to the earth says, I seek refuge in Allah that you disfigure me or decrease me in any way. Jibreel therefore returns to God empty-handed. God then sends Mikael. Similarly, the earth implores God, and Mikael hesitates. Finally, God sends Israel, the angel of death. When the angel of death approaches the earth in a similar fashion says, I seek refuge with God that you should alter me, disfigure me, or decrease me in any way. The angel of death responds by saying, I seek refuge with God that I should return without executing his command. The earth yields to Israel at that point, and Israel takes earth from several different faces of the earth. The reason that the earth yields to the angel of death is possibly because the earth recognizes that the angel of death will give the earth back to the earth, since it is the agency that takes life away and returns the earth to its original position, and that is why the earth may have been at ease to give itself over. In any case, certain hadith says that Jibreel brought different samples of earth. Now Adam is called Adam, possibly due to the fact that Adam means surface of the earth. The other speculation from hadith is this, that Adam was dark in complexion, and that's why he is known as Adam, because in Arabic the word Adam and its derivatives can also mean dark complexion. The hadith also tells us that because several different types of earth were mixed in Adam, we find different colors emerging within humanity as we procreate and as we spread. This dust was mixed in water and was left there until it became sticky clay. After it became sticky clay, God constructs the form of Adam and leaves it to dry. It stayed there for 40 years. We do not know what type of years these were accurately. And it sounded like the potter's clay. Now here is an interesting thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Iblis later on, that why did you not prostrate to the one that I have created with my two hands? In the hadith of Imam Ali salamullah alayhi, he said, then Allah created Adam with his hand. And similarly the hadith of Imam Sadiq. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we know Allah, does not have any hands. However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Allah's hand is on their hands. And here we normally interpret it to mean Allah's power, Allah's consent, Allah's strength is with them, and Allah's assistance is with them. We give a metaphorical interpretation because we hold God beyond bodily features and organs and limbs. However, when we look at the conversation that the angels are having with God, and later on the conversation that Iblis is having with God, we find that God is interacting at this level with the angels and with Iblis in a very human manner. And hence this human sort of a form is being depicted, that with my hand. Whereas we know God does not have any bodily or human qualities. The possible answer here is that it is not Allah as Allah molding and fashioning Adam. It is the representation of God and an agency on behalf of God as God on behalf of God who is fashioning Adam. Just as in the surah when the Prophet threw pebbles at the people who were battling against him, and Allah says, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ الرَّمَى. You did not throw when you threw these pebbles at them, but Allah threw. So here it's quite possible that there is an agency working on behalf of God in fashioning the form of Adam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala attributes this act solely to His divine self. When Adam's structure became ready, we see from the hadith literature that the angels were passing Adam in awe and in fear, knowing that this one is a great creature that God has created, who is limitless and boundaryless. Similarly, Iblis would pass the form of Adam and say, God has created you indeed for a grand purpose. At this point in time, there may have been jealousy in the soul of Iblis, but there may have been some comfort knowing that he was possibly better than Adam in the sight of God in terms of the worship that he had committed to God. And maybe he at this point in time was not gripped with jealousy to the extent that he felt resentment towards God. In any case, we find that the Quran says, وَإِذَا نَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. Now after the questioning of the angels, Allah says to them, and now when I have breathed into him of my spirit, fall in prostration to him. This story, according to the hadith, takes place in the following manner, that when the spirit was blown into Adam, when it arrived to his eyes, he suddenly saw. When it came to his nose, he sneezed. And when he sneezed, Allah said to him, may my mercy be upon you. The angel said to Adam, respond and say, all praise be to Allah. And Adam said, all praise be to Allah. When the spirit reached Adam's abdomen and he felt pangs of hunger, he saw the fruits of paradise and tried to rush to them, and he fell. And Allah said, indeed, man has been created in haste, as is the verse of the Quran. What we see here is that the spirit arrived into Adam's being very, very gradually, very, very slowly. And Adam took the form of a human being. Now, there's a distinction between the form of Adam and the Adam who is a human. As Isa says in the Quran, and I shall indeed fashion for you or create for you from clay the form of a bird. And then I shall blow into it and it shall become a bird by the consent of Allah. The form was a mere form. It was only the blowing of the spirit that gave it its identity of a bird. Similarly, the form of Adam was a mere form. It was the Spirit of God that entered into it that gave him the identity of a human being. Prior to that, it was not a human being. And this therefore gives us an understanding that when we die, the form is left, but the humanness is no longer with that form. We end here at this point that Adam, when the spirit was fully accommodated into his form and he became a living human being and a living man, he saw all the angels in prostration to him, save for one being that stood afar, refusing to prostrate.